With Anastasia, I noticed that I have a bean flower as well as a whole bunch of new growth on my bean plants. I mean, not all of them are the same and they're not as pretty as they were earlier in the season. But I think I might get a small second harvest. Also, I wanted to show you this. This is one of the Cubanelle peppers. And I don't know if it shares a root system with the other because it comes out of the soil separately. But I had a hard time separating it when I planted it. However, the stem is extremely thick right here. It makes me quite happy. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten a single pepper to grow at the top of it. I keep getting flowers, but no peppers. All of the peppers are coming off of this one with the thinner branches. So I don't know what's going on there. It is a chilly day today. Anna's actually wearing a sweater and jeans, which is not normal. But it was 69 degrees when we came outside and the wind is just absolutely cold. But the plants really don't seem to mind it. I guess it's a nice break from the extreme heat of the summer. I did find a bumblebee coming out and pollinating my flowers. Well, Anna found him over by the herbs and now he's over by the cucumbers. And this guy, I'm not sure if that's a Asian squash bug or if that's a ladybug. So, squash beetle, squash bug. But I wanted to show you the peppers. This is the bell pepper, the first one that I've been showing you. Starting to get big enough to recognize. And this little guy is the new one. And I'm watching to see what happens on the other branch, but I don't think that pepper took. I do have a whole lot of Cubanelle peppers finally starting to grow, and it keeps putting out more flowers. So as far as late season plants, this is phenomenal. And I even have this right here. A very large Cubanelle pepper. Anna?
This one is ready.
That one's ready? Mommy wants to let one dry on the plant.
Can I pick this one?
Not yet. I'll let you know when we can pick them, okay? So, this is what we do. We come out and we look, and she picks the herbs and she eats the herbs, typically. So, hopefully, these guys will reseed. Mr. Bumblebee likes the basil. But hopefully they'll reseed and we'll have it growing wild here. And, you know, I haven't been watering it all that well, but... Sorry, Mr. B was in my face. And then I've noticed that it is the beginning of the end of the season. And my cucumbers are starting to fall off of the support system and crowd each other out and starting to die off. But they keep putting out new growth, and I do have cucumbers growing on them right now. So I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to keep watering it and do what I need to do until the very end of the season, right before the first frost. And then this plant is bye-bye.
Hey!
But I'm definitely taking the peppers in and possibly the tomatoes. But just look at this wind. It's just ripping my plants out. So I am going to have to do some pruning on my sweet peppers. However, if you look, it's not really whipping the jalapenos around as much. So, yeah. I am pruning them back just a little bit so that they can, you know, make the trip inside safely. And it will be easier to spray them to make sure I don't bring bugs in and contaminate my other plants. Do you like the cool days in the garden or the hot days in the garden? Huh?
Hot days in the garden.
You like the hot days in the garden? And what's going on with your garden? What is this, Anna? What is this in your garden?
Flowers, tomatoes.
That's tomato flowers? And do you have another trestle starting up here? Oh boy. And let's look at the one that you pruned back. Whoops, that's your head. You pruned it back right here. And look at how tall it's gotten. Whoa, isn't that cool?
Big!
Yeah, it's big. Woo! Are you okay? That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. She tripped over the flower pot. It hurt your bum bum, but are you okay?
I don't know. I don't want a blanket.
Yeah, you're fine. She's going for the dirt. I might edit that out just so that she's not embarrassed, but she's been planting the bean seeds that she's found over in my other plant. Well, on my bean plant. And she's been planting them in the pot that I have had, or I had the zucchini in before the vine borers, and they started to grow.
Yeah, it's going.
I know, I just covered it up with dirt so it doesn't dry out. So we might even have a bean plant that we could take inside. And Anna did that all by herself. She picked the dried beans off the plant, she opened the pods, and she put the beans in the soil. Was it fun?
Yeah, and I'm welcome. I found my pocket.
You found your pocket? I found a blue jay feather. So I'm going to go and spray these plants some more and check them all for itty bitty buggy bites, because I did notice a buggy bite on this one, although the wind's blowing so you can't see it that well. That one right there. It's out of focus because the wind's blowing. But yeah, I'm going to check for more buggy bites and continue spraying. I'm not watering because the soil is moist, but they're starting to droop. And you can see the roots coming up. I don't know if you see, they got a lot of surface roots, so I'm trying to promote lower root growth. So we'll be back watching for this season, after I took the lower leaves off, is for new growth to come out from the junctions where I took the leaves off, because that happens quite often. And I've seen the beginnings of it. But this is the plant that I've wanted it on the most. And I'm not really getting much, but I have it on the other plant, which means pruning it down will help when I take it inside. Because this one is just a solid stick going all the way up to here. And then I've got a little itty bitty anemic side shoot, and then I've got a really thick stem, and I've got a fork with 3 junctions. And I want, woo, I'm all zoomed in, see? 3 junctions with the really thick stem, and I go down, and right there's the first fork with the anemic side shoot. And what I want to do is I want to lower the center of gravity more, hoping that these little buds actually make a flower. Like, I want to cut this really thick stem off up here. I mean, I'll try and root it, but I don't want to kill the plant by not having enough leaves down here to support it when I take it in. The stem on the bell pepper is actually very nicely done. You got your big little knuckle here with 3 branches somewhat close to the ground. Not too close so that you're going to get a higher availability of, what's the word I'm looking for? Of fungus, but not high enough that it's top heavy. Then over at the other Cubanelle plant, my knuckle's right at soil level, and it forks. So I want to take the center of gravity on that plant down just a little bit because it's able to support it. And I do have the new growth coming out here. So I'll probably cut down the anemic stems and trim my taller branches in half when I take it inside. This one, I'm just going to trim these guys in half when I take it inside, like right about there. But this one, I don't know what to do. Just need to hope that it'll spur growth along the stem. And then the jalapeno also has a low center of gravity, but I'm going to take off some of the lower leaf structure when I take it in and trim some of the branches in half because it's kind of tall. I love you too! She just screamed at me she's queen of the castle over there. The other thing that I want to touch on is something I kind of mentioned earlier, but I didn't go into detail. I have what looks like surface roots starting to grow in my pepper plants, which is not good, especially because I have buried them deep and I've been putting more soil in as I go along. So yes, they'll put roots out along their stems. Apparently, from what I've heard, it's not as much as tomatoes or other plants, but they put a lot of roots out if they're getting surface roots, because my surface soil level's right about here, and when I started it was about here. So that's about 2 inches of soil that I've put on, and if I'm getting surface roots about a ½ inch down, they're putting roots out up along the stem. I don't mind the marigold. Every day I gotta make sure there's no creepy crawlies moving around in there. Yeah, this plant's not coming in the house. But it did put out new growth over here with minimal damage to it. Right over there. So hopefully the spider mites are gone for good. But as I'm letting them dry out to promote their lower roots instead of surface roots, because it gives the plant more stability and makes it stronger, I am misting their leaves because they will take the moisture in through the leaf, just not as much as from the root system. But I don't suggest you stress your plant out completely. Make sure that it's moist down the bottom and it is getting water from the lower roots. And don't wait too long. Just let it dry out a little bit on the top and then water it. But water it deep and not a little top sprinkle. Although I do have children that like to help me water my garden, I cannot always guarantee a deep watering. And as a result, I have surface roots growing. So, the leaves do look a little wilted, but the plant is still growing, still putting out new growth, new flowers, still doing what it needs to do to survive because it's getting nutrients from the lower roots, and I'm misting it to help compensate for the lack of water from the top roots, which it has grown accustomed to. Yeah.